This is Saturday Morning Mysteries.
And we're your hosts, Alexis and Grace. Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of Saturday Morning Mysteries, where we are your hosts. I'm Alexis.
I'm Grace.
And we're back yet again to do our favorite thing. We are here to tell true, quote unquote, not really true, crime tales from the crypt, as we like to say, aka true crime tales from our favorite animated shows or just classic animated shows. We have a new show that we're starting today. Yay! And we are so excited. We are so very excited about this. If you've been sticking with us, you know that we do like a little episode arc covering different classic animated shows. We started with Scooby-Doo, we moved on to Darkwing Duck, and then we went through Rescue Rangers, all of which were amazing. And today we're doing a new show that I'm not going to say yet because Grace is going to be our storyteller, and because many of you have probably already seen the title of
as
this
always
episode, as per usual, and so you maybe already know. But with that, I will let Grace take it away.
Yes.
If she dares.
I do indeed dare. And as a reminder that we gave two, I'm going to, again, like always, build up to the show, but keep in mind the hints that we gave last week's episode of Farmer and a Newscaster, which after I do my little intro, we'll get into why we use those introduction or hints. So
we'll see if if I owe anyone $5 before the day is over.
Yep, exactly. Time will tell. So like all of our other shows, again, I'm going to try my best to set the scene for the show when it came out. And then we'll talk a little about the characters, about the show in our lives, and then we'll dive into the episode. So in this case, this show premiered in 1999. Some major world leadership related events happened, like the impeachment of Bill Clinton. At the very end of the year, Vladimir Putin became president in Russia. The world was geeking out about the upcoming Y2K and impending doom of the world due to the internet, et cetera, et cetera. In the line of true crime, 1999 was also when Columbine happened in Colorado. And a Colombian serial killer that I had never heard of until I was researching this, nicknamed La Bestia, was arrested. He was captured after killing, it's estimated, around 200 boys. So like, real fucked up. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. So like any like actual full true crime podcasters, if you could do that episode, that sounds interesting, but I don't want to research it. I want to listen to someone else tell me about it.
I want to watch cartoons instead.
Yeah, exactly. You're like, someone else do this work. Thanks.
Someone do that, please. That sounds sad and scary.
Very scary. And 1999 was a year of simply incredibly iconic entertainment. We had SpongeBob SquarePants start, The Matrix, the first Matrix, Harry Potter and the Prisoner of Azkaban, the book came out, Toy Story, TLC's No Scrubs, Law and Order SVU, the Slim Shady album, our new show, which is a combination of the last two things on this list of fucked up things and iconic entertainment. Courage the Cowardly Dog.
Courage,
our new
dog
show, everyone. So Alexis, what did you watch the show in 1999 and on? What was this relationship for you and this show?
So for me, this show was almost life-changing because I will say I grew up in a family that watched horror movies like constantly. Like I saw Freddy Krueger, Nightmare on Elm Street, the first movie, when I was in kindergarten, like 6 years old.
Oh my God.
Truly. So if anyone's wondering why I'm such a unique individual, that might be part of the answer. But it was just so amazing to see a cartoon that had characters and storylines almost as scary as some of the movies that I grew up watching. but for it to be on Cartoon Network and like for it to be something that I could watch like as soon as I got home from school and not like, oh, we got to go rent a movie from Blockbuster and see this scary thing. Like, no, it was something that I could pop on, and that I guess because of how creepy and out there it was something that my older brothers could also enjoy. So we would all definitely sit around and watch some of these episodes together. And I have these vivid memories of like sitting in my mom's or in my parents' family room. Like we have woods behind her house or a bunch of trees. And so it gets very dark. And like we would just turn all the lights off in the family room and just it would be so dark and kind of eerie. And we would have that show on and just like the blue light from that show lighting up her whole family room in the dark. Just great memories, like creepy, spooky nights watching that. And yeah, I think for that reason, it's perfect for us to tie in some true crime elements in this podcast. So what about you? How does this resonate with you as a show?
Yes. So I love that you brought in the horror movie aspect, because as I've mentioned in the past on this show that I do not watch horror movies. I don't know what goes on in my brain of like, I love true crime podcasts, like real life horror things, but I could just listen to scary things, and watching them is like, I can't have the visuals. So like, I'm not a horror movie person. So when I was a kid, I actually hated this show. So I loved it because I loved anything related to dogs.
Yes.
Surprise, surprise. If anyone knows me, my literal phone case is dogs on it.
And our guest stars very often on this podcast are your dogs.
In fact, Mako is laying right next to me. So the barking will be extra loud today for Alexis.
Perfect for my audio editing.
No one's going to edit it out because it's so fucking loud.
Yeah, I just leave it. I'm like,
look forward to that,
add them to our title card.
Yeah, exactly. So it was an easy sell. I was like, oh my God, adorable dog. Done. But there were some episodes that literally scared the shit out of me when I was a kid, but I kept coming back to it because I loved this dog so much.
Yeah.
Who is our main character, which I'll get to in a second. And so it's been really fun. I've only, watched the episode that I'm going to talk about today. But already like all of the onslaught of memories, or like opening it up on HBO Max and seeing like the, title, like preview cards, and seeing some of like the villains and having like this visceral, like, oh, okay, I got to write down that episode. So Alexis doesn't do, because that's my favorite monster.
Yes. That's why this morning I had to like rush to my laptop to put down like, wait, I at least want to do these few because I vividly remember these villains or like these monsters and I really want to talk about them.
Yep, exactly. So shit, I got to go check which ones you wrote down. So
it's okay. Maybe we can come to an agreement too. And honestly, there's so many good villains on this show, or monsters. I guess we can go back and forth with how we talk about them, but true crime subjects, let's put it that way.
Yes, there you go.
And
nice.
I could see this one being kind of like with Scooby-Doo, where we may come back to it and do more episodes one day in the future, because there's so much to pick from, and we're probably gonna like fight over some of these episodes, so we may have to settle that off air. Yes, exactly.
Exactly. I love that we both are like, yes, the monster/criminals, which this show, and I'll get into now what this show's actually about for those who maybe didn't watch it. It will be a combination of true crime and spooky things merging together. Yes. Spooky criminals, perhaps is what we'll call them.
Spooky crims.
Yes. So our show, Courage the Cowardly Dog, it takes place in nowhere. Literally, the quote unquote closest town to where our show mainly takes place is called Nowhere. And according to Wikipedia, it's in the middle of Kansas, which is like pretty big diss on Kansas.
True. Yeah. That.
And true. Have you ever driven through Kansas? Yeah, it's not fun. But as the name depicts, it really does look like the middle of nowhere. The vast majority of the show takes place at a farm. So like our hint last time, the farmer, just outside of nowhere, which means that it takes place in the nowhere of nowhere, essentially. Said farm literally is just like a windmill, the family truck, a quaint farmhouse, and then just like completely desolate desert-like plains of Kansas. And speaking of family, the show stars kind of three main characters that make up this little family. So first, we have the show's namesake, Courage. Courage is like semi-disheveled, bright, like lavender dog with some spots, which makes me extra love him because my dogs have spots, who mainly walks around on his hind legs. And he can talk. The humans, and correct me if I'm wrong, Alexis, like none of the humans can understand him ever. It's like sometimes the monsters can. It's hit and miss of who understands him.
Pretty much. It's weird. Like sometimes random human characters will. It's almost more like how we can sometimes understand our dogs, like if they're giving us the right eyes or something, and they're like, oh yeah, but it's for the most part, he's just speaking dog gibberish to them.
Yeah, he's like speaking to the audience, I guess. Dog gibberish so we can understand him. But yes, like you said, he does communicate through like various noises and like dramatic reenactments of shit he sees. He's a very animated, for he is literally an animated character. And Courage was a little abandoned baby, little pup who was found by the family that took him in when he was still little. And as the show indicates, despite his name being Courage, he can indeed be a cowardly dog. However, his deep love for his family, primarily the matriarch of the family, does make him courageous in the face of constant danger, which we'll get to shortly. Next, we have said matriarch of the family, Muriel. So Muriel is an adorable, plump, older, I don't know, like Scottish or Irish? Mixture of an accent woman. Something like that. She's basically like the perfect like grandma depiction and figure beyond our own grandmothers, obviously. Shout out to them who are probably not listening, but love you.
For various reasons. I mean, maybe it would prove some things about
that would
life
be wild.
So,
anyways, so she has wonderfully round spectacles. Oh, also, I guess we should define, that would be amazing if they were listening, because some of our grandmas have passed away.
No longer with us. Yes.
That was the point.
Right.
Of us saying that.
So if they were, it would prove like, oh my God, there is an afterlife. Anyway,
that was
let's explain our
tangent.
We understood.
I don't know, maybe Mimi's listening, but like she doesn't know what podcasts are probably. Anyways.
True.
So Muriel, again, she's got lovely round spectacles. She wears a little apron, a little cute dress all the time. She's got, like the poofy grandma hair, and she loves Courage. She treats him extremely well, stands up for him, especially against her husband when he's being mean to him. She just pampers Courage left and right. I love Muriel so much. She kind of sort of often finds herself either being like a damsel in distress or just being like unaware of the situation and just like carrying on as if everything, like she's just in the bathroom while all of this shit was happening, type of thing.
She was napping.
But Courage tends to think she's always in trouble, and so that always encourages him to step up and save the day because he wants to save her. Who saved him? Who rescued who? Dogs.
We love them.
Then Muriel's aforementioned husband is Eustis. Eustis is a skinny, bony man with like a huge chin, big glasses, no teeth, which is like kind of funny. Wears just overalls and like a little cap, like a little page boy cap almost. He's a classic grumpy as hell old man who, if I'm being honest, like low-key sucks. And I know it's a cartoon, but like straight up abuses Courage day in and day out. I think because he resents Courage because Muriel used to wait on hand and foot on Eustis, and then the puppy came into the picture. She loves him so much, and so Eustis is just upset that someone else has his wife's attention. But sometimes I will give him some credit that he will sometimes pair up with Courage to save Muriel. So basically, they will come together to help on occasion when it's for her.
So because somebody's got to make his dinner,
I mean, literally, that like that
you say
came up.
You say he abuses courage. He definitely. Hey, I won't get too much into it then, but he definitely abuses Muriel too, at least like psychologically, if not.
Yes.
I mean, like there's the physical abuse with courage and the absolute emotional and psychological abuse. Anyway,
yeah, who's the real criminal in this show?
Yeah, to be fair,
okay. Let's lay it out
wild
now that we think this, but at the end of our arc, let's come back.
We'll come back, to write a note,
to see if we indeed remember him correctly as maybe like should be investigated in the whole line of this show. Interesting. So we have these three interesting characters. What is the show about? Basically, the show follows this constant barrage of criminals, monsters, aliens, ghosts, mad scientists, evil supernatural creatures, and other perils and criminals that all somehow find their way to this little farm on the edge of nowhere. In our arc of this show, we'll basically be diving into all of these horrors that courage is combined. Porridge
is terrifying.
Horridge kind of sounds like porridge.
Yeah.
Courage ate the horridge porridge. Anyways, what horrors courage has to battle? The background of the criminals in this very crime-ridden place, which hiding in the middle of nowhere, I guess, is a good hiding spot for all these evil creatures. And just the general efforts that courage has to go through to keep his family safe. Of note, on the logistical side of things, this show, you can get it all on HBO Max. This show is set up like how other cartoons and shows used to be, which is in one, like 22-minute slot. There's actually 2 episodes. So we decided of how we're going to break it down is the season number, the episode number, and then if it's part A or B of an episode. So is it the first half of this episode or the second half? So for example, my episode today, I'm doing season 1, episode 1, part B, which is Dr. Quack, Amnesia Specialist.
Man, I didn't beat you to that one. Oh, well. Quack, what a legend.
Really a legend. So I'd like to take you on a journey today, Alexis and dear viewers and listeners, a journey that will lead us down the path that one Dr. Quack took that found him assaulting Eustis and Muriel, binding them and trying to straight up murder courage.
Oh boy. And
as I think a lot of our courage episodes will entail, we're going to wildly speculate about this criminal, Dr. Maurice Quack, which, see, look, I'm already speculating that his first name is Maurice. Because
good, nice. I was just wondering.
We don't get it, but I decided that was his first name.
It works. It fits very well.
Yes, indeed it does. So
sorry to any Maurices listening right now, but like,
my bad.
Your name fits for an evil duck.
An evil French duck.
Yeah.
So I postulate that Maurice Quack grew up not in nowhere, Kansas, but right across the border in what I decided was somewhere, Oklahoma.
Nice.
By the way, Quack is definitely a French Canadian duck. I've decided as well. And yes, he is straight up a duck for our listeners who aren't familiar. He's got like a big old long orange bill, very like suspicious, shifty eyes constantly, and the blue bow tie that matches his like, he's got like the Elvis curl type of blue hair, like baby blue hair. So anyways, a little background on Maurice's family. I believe that the Quacks made their way to somewhere, Oklahoma, after Maurice's father needed to flee their homeland in Quebec, where they were French Canadian citizens, but they had to flee due to his father's rap sheet of crime that was simply growing too large. Because I think the entire Quack clan was a criminal family, even back when Maurice's grandparents were still in France and before they had to flee to Quebec to avoid whatever law was coming after them in France. So I think Maurice the Quack was very, very young by the time his father crossed the Canadian border with him and his brother Jean. And where do you go when you want to hide? Oklahoma, I guess. Somewhere Oklahoma.
You go somewhere.
You go somewhere.
Literally, somewhere Oklahoma.
They were like, where are we going to go? I don't know, somewhere. Oh, let's write down Oklahoma.
They say it as they're like driving by the sign that says somewhere. They're like, let's go somewhere. No shit, Maurice. No, somewhere. Oh,
okay,
Maurice. Good idea, Maurice.
Which, that's the correct attitude his father would take, as we'll get to in a second.
Oh, okay.
So I believe that Maurice's father didn't move there to lay low. No. I think he just needed a new stomping ground where no one knew of all of his crimes. Raising his kids in somewhere, he taught them all of the tools of the trade to be a career criminal, and namely a career con artist. His father was stealthy and found that his cons were actually more successful in somewhere Oklahoma because his thick French Canadian accent was exotic to people in Oklahoma. Sorry, people in Oklahoma. I love French accents. So
no lies detected. Yeah, French accents are exotic anywhere in America.
Yeah. Also, like, I'm French Canadian, so I can shit on French Canadians. I think.
Yeah.
Done.
True.
Most of my family's out there. So I think that his father was able to charm everyone who he came into contact with in somewhere. There was one rule, though, that his father stuck to. He had no other, morals or anything like that. But in all of his cons, he said no violence. If the con started to turn in that direction, bail, get out of there. Don't look back. Just drop it and run. It's not worth it. So Jean, the older brother, took to the family business like a duck to water, if you will, because they are all ducks. He was intelligent, good looking for a duck, I guess, smooth, retained his French Canadian accent, could talk his way in or out of any situation. And he was the apple of his father's eye, bringing in bigger and bigger jobs and constantly outshining Maurice, who took to the family business like a duck to sand. I couldn't really think of like a good analogy.
Not water, mud, maybe.
Not dry.
Mud's a little
sandpaper.
Wet. Yeah, it's too,
I don't know.
A
drought.
A drought, like a duck to a drought.
Yeah, I like that, duck to a drought.
That's good. Yeah, it rings well. Not for the duck, but yeah.
Yeah. So Maurice, though he was clever enough to see when there was maybe an opening for a con, was not clever or charming in any way, shape, or form, and could not usually charm his way into good cons. So Maurice became the laughing stock and disappointment to both Jean and his father. He couldn't even literally take candy from a baby. He was too brash, too temperamental, too quick to anger. And as he grew older, feeling this pressure of his father, always talking down to him, saying that he's a disappointment to the family, bringing shame to the Quacks of somewhere Oklahoma and their ancestors, and Jean being the superstar of the criminal world in somewhere Oklahoma. So as Maurice grew older, one day he finally just fucking snapped during a con and straight up attacked his target. Which gave him whatever he was trying to steal from said target, because he could just pluck it out of that person's or duck's unconscious hands. So with this, Maurice suddenly realized this no violence rule, nah, throw it out the window. Not worth it. Yeah, not my style. So he began bringing in bigger and bigger pulls, growing in his ego and his violence. But at the same time, it grew the suspicions of Jean and their father, because they knew Maurice was not good enough to be getting this type of wealth and these type of cons.
Oh, damn. Backhanded. That's super.
So within the family.
Yeah.
Because they knew he sucked, basically.
Yeah.
And the heat was starting to turn up on all of them because of this rise in violent crime in somewhere Oklahoma. Because before, it wasn't really that violent. It was just people getting duped, essentially. But all of a sudden, the popo was on the tail, trying to figure out who's causing all of this violence.
Yeah.
And obviously, if one criminal is bringing the heat, it's going to come down on everyone else. So I think that Jean, sorry.
Whoa, sorry for
don't want him to hear me say that. That Jean, suspicious of his younger brother, followed Maurice, kind of trailed him to a con and saw how quickly he flipped it to just straight up assaulting the target and robbing them, both proving his theory that Maurice was up to no good and violating their father's only rule, and all of a sudden seeing a chance and opportunity to not only get rid of the heat that was coming down from the police, but to get rid of his other competition in town. So I think that Jean, seeing all this happen, called the cops on his own brother on the scene. So hearing sirens and seeing Jean holding the phone that called them, probably from a little phone booth across the way, Maurice ran, knowing that he had to escape and he couldn't come back, knowing that his own brother has finally turned against him. He knew the jig was up and that the cops were on his tail. So he did what he had learned to do best. He fought his way out. I believe both literally, physically fighting his own brother and taking down a couple cops as they ran to the scene, trying to take him down. You'll see why I think that was part of it.
Violence has corrupted this man this duck quite quickly.
Indeed. So I think that Maurice, after the blowout with the cops, was able to escape, and banking on the lack of across state lines coordination between police that can sometimes happen, especially back in the day, he crossed the border from somewhere Oklahoma to nowhere Kansas. And for the first time, he found himself somewhere, or I guess nowhere, where not only he had no brother upstaging him, no father tearing him apart, but no competition to be the exotic local who could charm everyone with just a simple accent, in a place that was truly nowhere on the map. So in Nowhere, I believe he changed his name to stay under the radar just a little more. Instead of Maurice the Quack, he became Dr. Maurice le Quack. And immediately got to work. It
cannot fail.
And that was the Dr. Maurice le Quack. So he immediately got to work conning the good people of Nowhere the way he wanted to, aka violently, because he didn't know any other way of life. So this brings us to our episode today, where Dr. le Quack is sitting in a room filled to the brim with riches from the good people of Nowhere. He's got fur coats, to piles of gold, to paintings and statues, which I still wrote as statute when I started writing this, of course. Diamonds.
Where do the people
to a literal boat
get all this stuff?
I don't know. I think the people of Nowhere might also be criminals, maybe.
Yeah, maybe.
They're like,
we'll talk at the end maybe about that.
Yeah, they're like
suspicions about Nowhere.
Outside of Nowhere, they like don't do it within the boundaries of Nowhere, which like fun fact back in the day of like Wild West, like Bonnie and Clyde-esque people, like Ma Barker-esque people, there were certain towns, I want to say somewhere in like St. Louis maybe was one of them, where like the rule was what was that?
Probably definitely somewhere in Missouri. Yeah,
exactly, which was like the West during that time. And it was like, you can do crimes in other cities. We'll let you be a criminal in St. Louis. Just don't rob us in St. Louis. Like, we won't prosecute you if you come back into city borders. So like that could have been the situation in Nowhere.
It's like a criminal bedroom community. It's like, you just go back there to sleep and then you do all your work, all your crime work out somewhere else.
Yeah. And then just come back. Don't do it here, but toss us some gold as you come back.
Right. Well, we are going to take some of your income tax though.
Yes. Income tax. Yes, exactly.
For criminals,
And so while Dr. le Quack is sitting there, he gets an alert on his computer, which I think this is the first time that computers and the internet play a role in any of our stories. Like truly connecting via the World Wide Web, which was up and coming at this time.
Good point.
So he somehow has clearly hacked into some server in Nowhere, which was probably a lot easier back then, but basically to notify him anytime someone is sending out a distress signal, which at that exact moment was coming from a little farm just outside of nowhere, the farm of Courage, Muriel, and Eustis.
Mm.
Specifically, the distress signal was sent out from Courage via their computer, which, by the way, is a character in and of itself in this show.
It's
an
kind of like the fourth
character.
member of the family.
Yes.
Yeah.
I would not get through an episode without mentioning him. It is a super sassy British search engine who Courage always consults, goes to Google, essentially, in attempts to figure out like what the fuck is haunting their house, who's trying to rob them, what to do in different situations. And it has dry British humor and just talks down to Courage constantly. And it's very funny.
Amazing.
Eventually they get to the answer they need at some point or another. So, for example, right now in our episode, Courage is in the process of trying to figure out why Muriel suddenly forgotten who she is, where she is, who Courage is, who Eustis is, after a plank fell on her head from the roof. The sassy computer, eventually after some shenanigans, tells Courage that it's amnesia. So Courage is looking up an amnesia doctor, trying to figure out, like, well, I guess that's a medical condition. We should get someone in here to help Muriel. Because, you know, obviously Courage is heartbroken that Muriel can't remember him. Of course, it makes total sense.
Yeah.
And Eustis, as you mentioned earlier, is taking full advantage of Muriel's forgetfulness and saying, oh, you know who you are? Essentially saying, you're my slave. You make me food. You rub my feet. You clean the house. Like, et cetera, et cetera. And he also tells Muriel, this dog is not ours. We don't know who this dog is. Get him out.
Oh,
so
man.
Yeah, so it gets rough real quick.
You know,
but good.
Real quick, sorry. I always wondered, like, because you know, when you're watching like SpongeBob and growing up, we think that Squidward is like so terrible, and then you grow up and you're like, oh wait, no, I understand him. For a long time, it's like maybe when I'm older, I'll understand Eustis. No, this dude is still just total asshole. He has no business being this evil. Sorry.
Yeah.
Anyway,
no, I truly agree. Like he is. Again, as we go through, we'll be building the criminal case against Eustis, comma the farmer. So again, Courage is sending out Googling basically amnesia specialist, amnesia doctor to nowhere, Kansas. And lo and behold, who turns up at their door? A very cleverly disguised Dr. Quack, who has added the two smallest little wisps of a mustache to his beak as his quote-unquote disguise. It's like literally like less than an eyebrow, like just curled up. Yeah, and was just like,
that's right. I am. Like the nice little French mustache.
Yes, exactly. And to him, this will be one of his easiest marks yet, because he doesn't have to really con them out of any goods, because these people have amnesia. So he can just walk in, rob them blind, and leave, and they won't even remember. Eustis answers the door to Quack, which I only mentioned because Dr. Quack hands him a business card he was able to whip together, and it says, Dr. Quack, amnesia specialist, do not call. Which I think is just really funny, being like, don't call me.
Yeah, don't call me. Here's my business card, but don't call me.
Yeah, don't call me. So anyways, Eustis turns Quack away, actually, being like, no one called an amnesia specialist. Get out of here. Because obviously he wants to keep Muriel having amnesia to be his slave forever. Again, Eustis, a whole situation there.
Yeah.
But Quack is unfazed by this because he just snaps right into his usual pattern and goes to violence. He immediately gets out his weapon of choice, which is like a giant, basically like Harley Quinn style sledgehammer, and knocks Eustis out on the spot, drags him into the house, and just tosses him into the coat closet.
Oh my God.
So just extreme violence immediately. But he was like, you're not the one who was going to help me rob this. I'll just get you out of the way.
Now he has another amnesia client for later.
Yeah, for later. Hopefully. And if not, he'll just hit him again until he has amnesia, probably. So Courage sees all of this go down and knows this is not time to fuck around. He's got to save Muriel and the sledgehammer wielding French Canadian duck maniac. Courage runs to Muriel and begs her to leave the house, but she has no idea who he is. And side note, for some reason, it's like playing, I think she's like playing like a sitar, like the like Indian like string instrument, just like on the floor, like plucking away at it. Like no context.
Like really good at it too.
Yeah. She fully playing
no
a song.
Context. Yeah. None whatsoever. She's just there.
Nothing. She's there
like
doing
it could be so many other things. Like she could be playing the piano. She could be playing the guitar.
Yep. Sitar.
Playing a flute. No, yeah, both things.
Exactly. So again, she has no idea who he is, who Courage is, and so she shoos him away and tells him to get out of the house. And this commotion cues in Quack to where in the house the amnesia patient is. So he runs into the room and immediately sees that Courage is trying to fuck up his con and goes, aka trying to get his patient, quote unquote, out of there. Mm-hmm. So Dr. Quack goes after Courage immediately with the sledgehammer. And this is where the show gets its name. Faced with a violent French Canadian duck with a giant hammer, Courage books it the fuck out of there and just leaves Muriel behind. And like, I do want to note really quick, like, same, maybe.
Yeah.
Really quick, total side tangent. Like, what would Reese do in this situation?
Thank you. Okay. I was going to say, well, if I was a dog, I would probably, see, that's a toughie. So as a human, I don't think I would book because it's a fucking duck. Like, kick that shit. Sorry, duck lover. And like, I love ducks too, but if a duck's attacking me, like, I'm not just going to take it. But if it's my dog, yeah, right. I want to think that Reese would like snap at it. Maybe in her younger, more spry days. But now she'd probably just run the fuck away too, like yelping.
Yeah.
No. Please don't hurt me.
Yeah, leaving us just behind.
Exactly. Like, sorry, Steph.
Yeah. I postulate or very much think that Mako, who's laying beside me right now, would just like bark a ton at the duck and try and herd the duck, most likely, because he is a little herding mutt. So like effectively like trying to nip and like just barking in the face of the duck and like probably like at some point snapping at him. I do feel very comforted though, knowing that Dilworth, the huge protective mama boys that he is, would take down the duck in like one chomp, because I have seen him get chompy chomp before. So like, I feel safe in my household from murdering con artist duck. So
yeah,
good luck to everyone else who doesn't.
Yeah, just so you know, don't fuck with Grace and Justin.
Yeah, you've heard the dogs downstairs screaming.
Right
up, ducks.
That's when they're happy. Yeah. Exactly. Oh, you ducks listening, you take note.
You just know going down.
The old camp house is protected.
Exactly. So anyways, with Courage sprinting out of the house, Quack is left alone with Muriel, who doesn't even know, again, why she is there and who this duck suddenly is. And he immediately starts questioning her where different things are in the house, like fine silverware. Only two problems. One, she has amnesia.
First of all,
she doesn't know where the valuables are.
Yeah.
She doesn't know
surprised
where
she even remembers how to play the sitar. Yeah. I'm like amazed by that, but like, no. I don't know where my jewelry is.
The sitar took up all the place in her mind.
Yeah.
It's only sitar music in there now.
Yeah.
Nice. Which like a sitar spooky tune would be a great Courage.
Ooh, noted.
This too.
Noted.
So Alexis has to learn how to play the sitar now. Great.
Gotcha. Done.
Yes.
Like,
and
when they hear this though, there is actually like beautiful sitar music playing over it. I'm sitting here like, oh God, yeah, let me see if I can try that.
Wink, wink. Yeah, this whole time.
As if I don't already know how to play the sitar. Please, Grace.
Please, don't insult me like that. Bonus content. Alexis learns to play the sitar.
It's me just like fucking it up, like 30-minute videos, like plucking. so discordant. Anyway,
yeah, exactly. Not even tuned.
Yeah.
The people are paying you to stop playing.
Yeah. Our Patreon account like blows up.
Just to get her to stop it.
Yeah.
So again, 1, she has amnesia. 2, he's on a very simple farm on the edge of nowhere. Farmers obviously still have many, 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 many nice things, but not these farmers who barely have any furniture. They have like a bed, 2 chairs, a side table, like maybe a dining room table with like 4 chairs and like a hutch. And like, that's the entire house. Yeah. So quickly realizing that like actually not realizing, he does not yet realize like, oh, I'm here to see an amnesia patient. He basically is just like, oh, she's unhelpful. I'm just gonna start going through your shit and can't find anything of value, which then makes him think that they're just hiding all of their valuables.
Not that they're poor.
Yeah, exactly. That they're like it's very impoverished
somewhere.
Yes.
This dude's fucking crazy. So, that's fucking crazy.
Yes, very creepy. But I guess like good that he doesn't stereotype rural people into just because they're poor, they don't have nice stuff worth stealing, maybe? I don't know.
True. I guess he's a very forward-thinking criminal.
Exactly. But he finally does realize, that's right. She's got amnesia. For her to remember where it's hiding, I need to actually try and cure her of this amnesia. So instead of like, I don't know, trying to get a doctor in there, trying to like Google medical ways to cure it, he turns to yet again violence and decides to torture Muriel into, I guess, remembering where the goods are.
That is one of the cures for amnesia.
Just more violence. Violence helps violence, I guess.
Disclaimer, we are not doctors or psychiatrists or therapists in any way at all.
Nope. So despite his very hair trigger violent tendencies, which I do want to get a shout out quickly to Courage, because we see these hair trigger tendencies because Courage does actually come back into the house multiple times trying to save Muriel. But every time is immediately spotted by Quack and his hammer and then chases Courage out. So he only gets half credit. He comes back, but he also immediately just as quickly.
What do you want him to do? You want him to get hit by the hammer?
I want him to fight this duck like my dogs would. I want him to be like my dogs.
He's trying. He's trying.
Come on.
Maybe.
You're a descendant of wolves, Courage.
Yeah, true.
Come on. Do them proud.
Wolves would never take this shit from a French Canadian duck.
Exactly. Especially not a French Canadian duck.
Yeah.
No.
Maybe an American duck, but not a French one.
So, yeah, exactly. So luckily, his torture methods are decidedly less violent. He ties Muriel up and tickles her with a feather. Tickles her feet with a feather. Oh. He sets up I guess Eustis's model train and ties her to the tracks and just has a train like a Rube Goldberg machine throw pies into her face, which I don't know where the pies came from, but I assume Eustis made Muriel bake all of them while she was under amnesia, as aforementioned abusive tactics to him. So again, to his credit, Courage again keeps coming back, trying to thwart the criminal. But finally, he realizes once this little train track situation is set up, that he doesn't have to fully expose himself this time to the Quack. Instead, he can just do some very, very clever, quick wiring of the model train and explode it right in Quack's face.
Wow.
Unfortunately, it barely impacts Quack because it was a dog trying to do electrical work. And it just makes Quack more full of pure rage that this job is not as easy as it was supposed to be. So Quack decides, all right, we're going to leave Muriel on the side for right now. The old grumpy dude's still in the closet, passed the fuck out, if not dead. Yeah, don't forget about that.
Yeah, side note.
Yes, we need to take care of this dog because he's slowing down my process. So to keep Courage from getting away this time, Quack boards up all of the windows and doors of this house so that there is no escape and is trapping Courage within his own home. But luckily, Courage does something that none of our heroes have done yet. Well, we saw it like somewhat in Darkwing Duck, and Scooby-Doo, but like not directly and a couple steps removed.
Okay.
And it's something that Courage doesn't really do all that often, but sometimes does. Courage sneaks away to the computer up in the attic, so where Quack didn't know, and gets on the computer and calls the police.
Oh my God. Wow.
Because there's an intruder assaulting everyone in the household.
I mean, to be fair, it took him quite a while to get there, but wow. This is an anomaly. Are you sure he called the police? They never called the police.
I will say, even calling the police took a while because the police like answered via like sassy computer chat, and they were like, "What do you need help with?" And they're like, he's like, "A duck is assaulting everyone." And they're like, "Where are you?" And he goes, "A farm in nowhere." And the police go, "Well, what do you want us to do about it?" Classic cops, am I right? Anyways. So as the final showdown between Courage and Quack is happening, aka shenanigans running through the house, Home Alone style, Courage trying to protect Muriel, not running away literally because he can't get away at this point. The cops bust into the house.
Oh, good.
Which is a whole other discussion, by the way. I mean, just break down the door.
Yeah.
But, they...
Good.
Yeah, exactly. It's a whole other discussion, not our podcast.
Yeah, right.
They get there and arrest Quack. However, dear listener, beyond hilariously seeing Dr. Quack get cuffed, because the cuffs are, like, huge on his, like, little wings.
Yeah. You can like just slide out.
We get to actually see, which this does not happen often either in our episodes so far. We get to see what happens to Quack when he gets taken away. Which, if you will recall my wild speculation earlier, that Quack has evaded capture from police by going as far as assaulting officers to escape. The actual ending scene to this episode is fucking cuckoo bananas wild as we slowly pan over to a rural country road, probably en route to the Nowhere County Jail. And all we see is an overturned cop car with smoke rising from it. And Dr. Quack wearing an officer's uniform, walking away from the crash with no signs of the officers, the bodies, anything anywhere. So, dear listeners, this will not be the last time we see Dr. Quack. And that's it. I don't know how to act like guitar spooky music.
This is very funny. My computer just like sent a notification like, "Are you trying to play music?" I've never seen that before. Oh my God. If that's what it thinks music sounds like, I'm so sorry. Yeah. Oh, wow. Wonderful job. Amazing. Wow.
Thanks. So,
and that is our first episode, our first tale from Courage, the Cowardly Dog, the tale of Dr. Maurice Quack.
Maurice Quack. How do you say doctor in French?
Médecin.
Médecin Maurice Quack. Wow, that was very impressive that you knew it.
I hope that's the way. Well, because the first thing I thought of was that it's really cool. The organization Doctors Without Borders. Have you heard of them? In French, it's Médecins Sans Frontières, which sounds so cool, right?
Everything
Doctors.
See, this is
frontier
why we get
is like border.
Yeah, this is why we get conned by a French Canadian duck, because immediately I was like, tell me more.
Wow, I am the French Canadian duck.
Bird, yeah, right.
That was hundreds of years ago. My family, we actually spelled our last name with the I instead of the Y, but a couple too many of us got caught, so we just changed that around, moved to Cincinnati, Ohio, or like southwestern Ohio. And now now we're gonna have to change it again. We're gonna have to add an E to the end of it to keep throwing people off.
Is that an accent on the Y or something?
Beard. Yes, but no,
Perfect.
Great job. That was so much fun. And a great way to start off Courage as well, because I think that Quack is probably one of the most memorable one of the most memorable villains. I guess he's not quite a monster. I mean, and he's
his own way.
He's figuratively a monster.
Yes.
That's
his personality is monstrous. Yes.
Yeah.
So that'll be we're starting off our courage arc. Stay tuned for more, and between now and next week for more courage. Who should they tell about this podcast, Alexis?
Oh boy, let's see. This week, I think you should tell. You know, we've talked about telling your therapist and stuff like that before, so I can't say, you know, because we talked about the Quack being whatever kind of doctor he is. So instead, this week, let's see, go to your local zoo if you have a zoo in your town, especially if it's like free or they've got like after hour discounts or something. Go to the bird house there or like one of the major bird exhibits and tell whatever zookeeper is like on watch there, whoever is like watching the bird room, and be like, hey, I listen to this podcast. They talk about birds all the time. And this week, the villain actually straight up was a bird. And talk about our Darkwing Duck episodes too while you're at it, because that was like 8 weeks of only bird talk. So that's who you should tell this week.
Bird talk. I love that. Yeah, while you're at the aviary section of the zoo, I think you should find some parents who are clearly fucking over it. Like, it's hot out. It's August by the time this episode's coming out. I don't know. Right now, the Pacific Northwest has a heat wave. Y'all have heard me complain about my office not having AC right now, and that's why I slowly start sweating more during these episodes. Their kids are running around the aviary trying not to get pooped on by the birds up there. Go tell some parents, be like, hey, I know you have an AirPod in because you're just sick of being at the zoo with these rowdy kids. Pop in some Saturday morning mysteries. At least make this experience enjoyable, you know, beyond the memories you're making with your children.
Are you though?
You're just hot and tired and over it, and they're going to start screaming that they're hungry soon. Listen to Satmore Miss. It'll make you laugh a little bit. And
those are the real memories that matter.
Yeah, exactly. Make memories with us instead.
Yes, these two women you've never met.
Your real children. Us.
Yeah. Hi. Send us money now, mother and father.
Money, please. Please. Great. Well, I think that's it.
Oh, sorry.
Oh God.
See ya. Au revoir. À demain.
Okay, now you're just being too fancy.
Until tomorrow. Goodbye.
Bye.
Thanks for tuning in to Saturday Morning Mysteries.
If you enjoyed this episode, please share, rate, review, leave us a like, and drop a comment. We post episodes every Saturday and bonus tune tangents whenever we feel like it. So please subscribe so you don't miss the shenanigans.
And if you want to follow us on YouTube, click the bell under the YouTube subscribe button to receive notifications when new videos are posted.
And if you want to subscribe to the podcast, we have no idea what you're listening to us on, so just hit the big subscribe button on whatever app you're using. We believe in you.
Give us a follow on Twitter and Instagram at Satmornmist, all the abreves, and let us know if you have any episode or show requests by emailing SaturdayMorningMysteries@gmail.com.
Thanks to Jenna Kendall for the logo design and to Ava Sakiki for the music used during this week's episode.
See y'all groovy kids next week on Saturday Morning Mysteries.